Welcome, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 31st of July, 2024, and this is the Cluster API office hours. Cluster API is a subproject of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidelines, which are basically result in please treat each other as you would expect to be treated, or explicitly so, please be kind to each other. And if you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you. At the beginning of our meetings, we like to take some time for new community members or attendees to this meeting to introduce themselves if they would like to. So if that sounds like you and you would like to say something to the group, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. And the raise hand button is under reactions on most clients. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands going up, so we'll move on to open proposal readouts. And Fabrizio, I guess I'll just hand it over to you to talk about the status conditions.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, quick update about the proposal for improving status for Cluster API resources. Maybe I should edit this to make this. It's not only about conditions. So, discussion are going really interesting, and I completed the write-up of the proposal, and so I removed the WIP from the proposal itself. The most important part that I have added is a new section about contract changes. And TLDR, I've copied basically the introduction of this paragraph here, but TLDR is that we are only changing, we are only introducing a few changes into the new API contract, which is basically about renaming a few fields to disaggregate usage of a ready term. And we are going to remove failure reason and failure message. Okay. What is worth to notice is, what is interesting is that for the first time in the Cluster API history, we are thinking to introduce a new mechanism that will allow providers to migrate to the new API contract at their own pace. So it's not required anymore that when providers start using copy 1.9 or whatever in whatever release this change will land, the V1 Beta 2 will land, they have to bump to the new contract. The old contract will keep working even after, and will keep working basically for 1 year. So that means that we are giving an additional year to provider to adapt to the new contract, or at least that's the idea so far. And no, Vince, this is not for condition, is for all the changes that we are doing in the contract that are, for instance, rename status.reading in status is into provisioning bootstrap seeker product. So it's not only for contract. What is important for condition, since you are asking, is that the Cluster API contract does not require provider to implement conditions. And this one is not going to change. So you can implement your own provider without condition. Even this is not recommended because the observability will be much bad. And also, we are not forcing provider to migrate to Kubernetes condition. It is their own choice. But yeah, it is written in the proposal. At a certain point, we are going to drop everything that relates to Cluster API custom condition. And so if you're a provider and you want to keep using the old one, you will have to basically implement your own condition utils, patch helper, etc., etc.
Fabrizio, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Vince has raised his hand.
Yeah, just wanted to just to clarify, like the contract is staying this way just for within this proposal, right? Like for other contract changes, like it might be different. That's the only clarification I wanted to make.
That's true. This proposal is based on the change that it introduced, is what we can offer. If other changes sum up, we have to reconsider. That's a good clarification. Thanks, Vince.
Stefan, you've got your hand up, please.
Yep, but I think whenever we consider making other changes for beta 2, we should strongly consider following the same pattern essentially. Because I think if we don't, that basically means that, yeah, a lot of providers out there just will stop working from one core copy version to another. But I mean, we'll see how it goes until we actually reach beta 2.
Sorry, Fabrizio. I would have written down Vince's question, but I it like fell out of my brain right after Vince said it for some reason.
I will write down when I stopped. I just want to add that the goal, given the answer that we received so far, the goal remained to somehow close the proposal end of August. So after the release, beginning of the next release cycle, so we can start implementing.
Joel, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so this proposal is talking about a V1 beta 2. Obviously, doing an API bump is a big thing. We're not just going to do it for this. Are there other things that we are planning to do at the same time? At what point can we start making changes? At what point do we want to consolidate and say, no, this is what V1 beta 2 looks like? Do you have any idea on those timelines?
So this proposal. So first of all, we have an issue. Stefan linked it in the Slack, and then I will copy that where we are collecting all the potential topics for V1 beta 2, and this proposal address only a subset of them. Okay, it's not clear how many of them will get into the V1 beta 2 release or not. We are just going through the first, let me say, significant bulk of changes. What this proposal is writing down as a tentative timeline is to get to revamp the status fields, including condition, by the end of year, and to do the actual bump and possibly some other changes in the first release of the next year. Scope and timing are still TBD, but this is the scenario that we are trying to work on.
Okay, cool. Thanks. When the PR goes up, I would be interested to help it with the reviews if you could ping me. The PR to actually add the V1 beta 2 types.
Thank you for offering to help, Joel. Does anyone else have questions or comments about this topic while we record some of the discussion here?
Not a question, just sorry if Fabrizio, like if make you repeat things, but I guess like the timeline is vague, but you know, it's like all tentative.
You cut out there, Vince.
Like we don't have anything, like I said, super. Joel, I guess like I'm sure you have a lot of try if you can to look at that list before that PR actually is open, because that might be even late, if that makes sense. Like if it's a lot of it's a lot of work to even add a new API type version. So yeah, if we can get ahead of that, would be awesome.
Sorry, that kind of compressed for me, so I didn't quite get what you were asking for. That you want me to take a look at the list ahead of time to do?
Yeah, even before the PR is open, because once the PR is open, it might be even late because it's a lot of work to add those types and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to basically split between, let's say, the pure boilerplate that has to be in that PR for like any new API version and the actual changes. But I mean, obviously, I mean, all the types can have all the changes. So I'm not sure if there could be a way where maybe in the first PR, we're just adding a copy of beta 1, and then we have a bunch of subsequent PRs, maybe for specific types. I don't know. We have to think at a time, I think, how we can break this down from one PR, which touches like the whole repository has like, I mean, I remember the last one from Vince is like a huge thing. And just, even if you just try to copy the types, getting that like bug free
It's a
is
lot
a challenge.
Yeah.
Even without changing everything in the types.
And maybe like a good thing that we could do is to branch off like in a next branch for like a little while that we could collaborate upon instead of using main, so that we can merge things easier in as we iterate on it.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Like, technically, if you merge those into main, like they're in main, someone might vendor that, and you have no control over what our consumers vendor and at what point they vendor. So yeah, doing it in a feature branch, getting review, getting it working, just doing the copy and then doing incremental changes from there, I think would be a lot easier to review before then pulling it back into main. And I suspect at least our consumers are a lot less likely to vendor random feature branch.
Go ahead, Seven.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I like the idea of guaranteeing anything if people are just pulling in main. But yeah, let's just see what the ideal way is to do this. Definitely.
Yeah,
Let's
you know
just
someone's
try
going
to
to do it, right?
Oh, I guarantee you that I'm doing that today.
Sorry, I'm not raising the hand because I'm sharing, I cannot. But I think that there is another angle to this. So what we are saying is that, let me say, when we do a release bump, we already have a lot on the table. And it is the sum of complex to handle. So I think that a good way to get ready is that people start taking a look at the umbrella issue that Stefan has at the backlog. And if there is something that we would like to have in Web Beta 2, we start designing stuff as soon as possible. So we can have at least mock API changes that then we keep adding as fast as possible on top of the on top of the first migration. So let me say everything we can do before the actual start of the work will be super good.
Yeah, just want to add to that. I think with the condition proposal, we're basically the best possible way, right? We're trying to implement everything we already can ahead of time. And then the actual change of beta 1 is relatively small. For other bigger changes, we might need the same to even get them done. I think if in the minor release where we actually want to do the beta 2, we just start with a proposal, there's almost no time to get a proposal merged and implementation merged. And a lot of the stuff can probably already be prepared ahead of time. Or maybe in a lot of cases, it's just something like, I don't know, when we want to rename fields, we can already add a new fields, deprecate the old ones, and it's just a bunch of dropping fields. I mean, it really depends on the case, on what we can do or should do. But definitely makes sense to start a lot earlier than just in the release where we're actually going to bump. Or at least have plans for a lot of that stuff.
Are we expecting a design to be agreed before we start merging any of this for like each of the things we want to change? Like, what's the best process for that if that's the expectation?
I would say it depends on the topic. If we actually need a proposal, or if it's just like, hey, short description on what you're going to do, and we take a quick look and say, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, really depends on the case. I think what definitely makes sense is just in general on if people are interested in, I don't know, let's just say contributing to beta 2, to take a look at the issue and at least bring up like what sort of changes they would like to see or something, that we have some rough idea which topics are important to whom. And then maybe you can also identify on a case-by-case basis what we want to do to actually implement them, and depending on how much effort is, do we need a proposal or not, and this sort of stuff. But I definitely wouldn't say that we need a proposal for everything. Definitely not.
Great discussions happening here. Are there any other questions or comments about this? I know Fabrizio, you're still writing. I didn't know if you wanted to come back and kind of give some thoughts afterwards.
No, I just thank you again, everyone, for the feedback. It is really nice to see all those people coming together on that proposal.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess for anyone who is is watching at home or maybe not, not in the conversation currently, please look at the cluster API issue we have linked here. It's issue 10852. It looks like that's where we're collecting kind of the potential changes for the V1 beta 2. And that's a great place to leave feedback or give your wish lists or whatever, because it sounds like we're going to try to do some organizing there as we come up to the release for V1 beta 2. So please take a look there, and if we can have more conversation there, that'll definitely help out the design work that's going on. All right, so if there's no other questions or comments about that topic, we will actually move to our discussion topics now. So Stefan, you're up with the first discussion topic about having to stop setting CA bundle to this value.
Yeah, so I don't know who copied this stuff from wherever, but okay. So following story. So basically, it was basically just randomly finding this because I was reading last week in Kubernetes, which I can basically which I can really recommend, by the way, that newsletter. But yeah, there was a PR merged in Kubernetes, and basically they changed a few things around what you can do with the CA bundle field in CODs. And one very specific thing that they're not allowing anymore is that once you have a COD which is established, which basically means something like the COD is served, which also includes something like that you have a valid CA bundle in there. It's not allowed anymore to set the CA bundle to an invalid value. So basically, once the COD is up and running, it's not allowed anymore to override a CA bundle field to something which is not a valid certificate or CA or something like that. The problem here is, I mean, the change in Kubernetes is good. Maybe it's a bit too breaking for some people, but in general, I think it's a good thing that they're not allowing this, because basically breaking the CA bundle also means you're breaking conversion webhooks, potentially mutating webhooks, admission webhooks, all of that, and stuff just stops working because you broke the certificate in there. But yeah, the impact on us is that all the CRDs that we publish in Core Capi and probably in a bunch of providers are setting this magic CG equal value, which is basically a \n in base 64 encoded. So that means with Kubernetes 131 starting with RC0, if you are going to apply this, it works on the first apply. So on initial CRD creation, it's totally fine to set an invalid value, and then cert manager will just fix it up with the CA injector. But if you try to apply the same YAML again, it will not work again, because on a second time, assuming after the first time you eventually get a valid CA bundle, but on a second time it fails and will tell you you cannot break this CA bundle, basically. So what we're going to change in Capi is that we just are going to stop setting the CA bundle value, because it's not actually required to set a CA bundle value. On the first link, Jordan linked it like a nice RCA, how it probably got to the point where people were setting the CA bundle. Based on what he wrote, basically setting CA bundle to a value was never required for CODs. It was at some point half required for, I think, built-in types, or maybe for webhooks. I have to read the exact thing, but it was mostly due to broken client-side validation in kubectl. It was not like the server actually ever required it. So yeah, so we're just going to stop setting this value. This should be fine for new deployed CRDs. It should be also fine for CRDs which have been initially created with this value and are now updated with a new CRD which doesn't contain the value anymore. So that's mostly just a heads up in FYI for anyone else publishing CRDs, for anyone trying to continuously apply the CRDs from us that are already out there to Kubernetes 131 RC0 or above. You will get errors if you try to do that. Yeah, so we fix it in core CAPI, of course, also in CAPI. We put a note into our migration guide, but other providers should probably follow along if you have the same problem. Yeah, you can just grab for CA bundle in your CRD folder, basically. And if you're setting it to something which is not a valid certificate, you should get rid of it. For more details, the Slack thread. And also the second one is the PR with the change in Kubernetes. Yeah. And that's it.
Does anyone have questions about this? First of all, thanks for bringing it to our attention, Stefan. It sounds important, if not, world ending. But yeah, does anyone have questions about this, especially providers who might be implementing their own CRDs or anything? Okay, I am not seeing any hands going up. So thank you again, Stefan. And we'll move on to the next topic, which is Chandan with some RC release announcements for 1.8. I can't believe we're already at 1.8.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just an announcement for 1.8 RC0 release, which we released yesterday, which contains some like features enhancement and also the couple of bug fixes. For more detail, you can check out the release notes. And looks like Christian would like to add a couple of more points on that release notes.
Yep, happy to. I want to highlight two things. One is an important fix for when workload clusters get upgraded to v1.31, because there was a change in upstream Kubernetes and the API server. I hope I'm not getting it wrong, but there was a change in Kubernetes. Yeah, it was in the API in the kubelet when it tries to get information to start pods, and it comes down to when we join control plane nodes with v1.31 to a cluster which is on a lower version, the kubelet of that control plane nodes failed to start up pods because of the way the change was done. And basically it comes down to, with this upgrade, we violate the Kubernetes queue, the versions queue in a way, which is not allowed, because the kubelet of v1.31 tries to talk to a v1.30 kube API server, and then we get into that situation that things break, like kube proxy is not able to come up, or CNI is not able to come up, so pods on that new control plane node don't work until that kubelet finally is able to talk to a v1.31 API server, which could cause outages. We noticed this in our self-hosted upgrade cases because they started to flake badly. And we noticed there that it's even more bad than the upgrade case did show, and also the normal workload cluster upgrades, which are not self-hosted, are affected from this. The good thing is there's a flag in kubeadm, an alpha flag, which helps us out in this case, which makes the kubelet talk only to the local kube API server on that control plane nodes. Stefan implemented a fix in KCP that we use that alpha feature gate, which helps us to get out of that situation.
Lubomir, please.
I just wanted to thank Christian for implementing the feature gate in kubeadm. This is kind of preemptive and really like good timing before 131 was released, and kind of breaks us pretty much. And also thanks to Stefan for implementing this in KHP, of course. And I just wanted to give some historical context. I think in 2019 we discussed this problem with the skew where cluster APIs doing immutable node upgrades. You just put your machines in the queue. They do rolling upgrades, immutable node upgrades, and basically what happens is that you at that particular moment of upgrade you violate the skew between you have potential to violate the skew between a new joining kubelet and an existing older Kube API server. And this is something that was discussed at the time a few years ago. And basically, we said that, hey, it's Kubernetes, the system will reconcile. Everything's going to be okay. But we now discover that there's actually downtime. And during upgrade, you don't want to have this downtime. And basically, this is now a fix in kubeadm. It was not so easy to do because architecturally kubeadm was designed in a way that the kubelets have to talk to the load balancer, to the VIP, basically. And now they talk only to this local Kube API server. Now, there was an argument that this is actually less HA, less high availability, because if the local Kube API server goes down, the kubelet has to, it cannot reach a Kube API server anymore. But actually, if it reaches on like a different server, it's like a violating the SKU. So overall, I think this is the right choice, the right solution, because we never want to vary the SKU. If you look at the bottom of this PR, I added a thread, which is also from my 2019. Jordan proposed a number of solutions, and my argument was that if you look at the way CAPI machines are bundled as a package, you will basically see that the way we do immutable upgrades is completely non-friendly to the sequence of upgrades of Kubernetes components that is in the actual guidelines. You're supposed to Kube API server always first, then scheduler and controller manager. But if you look at the sequence, you understand that it's really it's like not so flexible. You have to, the kubelets can only be contained to this node. So we had to redesign kubeadm, with this feature gate. Jordan gave some interesting ideas on that whole thread, but basically, I think what we did with this feature gate is really the best option. That's pretty much all that I wanted to add. And, yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving that engineering history. We often forget about that, but I think it helps fill the picture in. So yeah, thank you so much, Lubomir. And thank you, Christian, as well, for putting all this together. It's a lot of cross-functional work, but it takes that to make something like Cluster API come together.
Yeah, it was by accident that it landed right before we hit that issue, but that's good.
Perfect timing, right?
If there are no further questions on that, I would take the other point I have here.
I don't see any
It
hands
doesn't
up.
look like.
Okay.
So in CAPI, we already bumped to the RC0 of v1.8.0. And there are two pull requests in core CAPI which are good to adopt in providers. It's around flags for cluster cache tracker and the diagnostics/metrics flags. You will note, implementers will notice the changes to diagnostics flags or metrics flags if they use them already today, because the signature changed somewhere or the used functions. For cluster cache tracker, I think it's not that obvious. If you're using it in your infra provider, maybe good to also have these flags in your controller. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Did anyone have questions about the second topic Christian brought up there? About the changes for the cluster cache tracker metrics? All right, I am not seeing any hands going up, so we'll go on to the next topic. Matt, you've got something about needing some help with the CAPI EDE main test. So please take it.
Thank you. First, thank you very much, Christian. We started vendoring 1.8.0 beta 1 yesterday and ran right into the first issue you pointed out. So we will use that to fix it. Thank you very much. This is just, I'm just picking this up from Slack, and maybe we should continue the conversation there, but there's a thread a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks old, where my coworker Jonathan Tong followed up. He's out this morning, so I just wanted to make sure that we kind of had a handle on it and that we could help get it fixed. So I was just wondering, do we have a tracking issue for this? I'm understanding that CAPI E2E main fails a significant amount of the time, at least on release 1.7, and it seems like it's Docker machine pool sort of accounting error, or perhaps machine pools. I did look quickly, but I may have missed it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Fabrizio is taking a look through now to see.
Okay. If not, I'll just go ahead and create one, and we can pile on there. Oh, there is one. Thank you, Mohammed. So it is that one. Okay.
If I may add, Matt,
Yes,
this is
please.
one, and this is a flake that we are serving, but maybe your team can take a look also at the backlog. There are a couple of issues and open question about machine pools. I pinged you for some time ago, and yeah, maybe pass it through the crack.
Yes, I think so. We're a couple of us on vacation. I've been sick, but that's not an excuse. We will take a look. Okay, well, I don't really have anything other. I just want to see if there's a tracking issue. And I see Willie looked at it, but we didn't get anywhere. So we will redouble our efforts to get this fixed.
Cool, sounds good. I'm trying to capture some of these things that are happening in the chat here, but that other link, I'm not sure how good this link will be, but I'll put that in there.
Oh, nice.
I also pasted it at the issue, so you can find it there too.
Okay, did anyone else have questions or comments on this topic? Okay, thank you for the links in chat and whatnot. So that brings us to the end of our regular official office hours. So we just have provider updates. And it looks like Nolan, you've got an update for Kappa. So please.
Yeah, just letting folks know that we released 261 this week. There's no 260. So that includes some updates and new fields to particularly for the Rosa provider. Also not on the agenda, but we have a work in progress PR for bumping to CAPI 180 that's currently in flight. So that will be probably the next minor that we release.
Awesome. Great to hear about leaning into 1.8 already. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Does anyone have any last minute or ad hoc topics they would like to bring up or questions for the group? Or should we just take back about 25 minutes of our day here? Going once? Going twice? All right. Sold for 24 minutes back from our day here. Thank you everyone for coming out, and we'll see you all next time.